to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life Live is dedicated to transforming lives one at a time, thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Welcome. This is Chris Williams in for Steve Arterburn today, and in studio with me is Dr. Alice Benton.
Hello.
Good to see you today.
You too.
And Dr. Sheri Keffer.
Hey, great to be with you both and all you listeners today. We're so looking forward to hearing your hearts and calls.
All right, friends, are we ready to help some people today?
Of course.
Awesome.
Let's do it.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to mention something really critically important, and that is our Intimacy and Marriage Workshop that is coming up here on October 25th in Columbus, Ohio. And so investing in your marriage is a phenomenal investment. Also, we're going to be in studio here today for 2 hours. Give us a call, 1-800-229-3000. I say this, let's jump into calls right away.
Let's go.
All right, let's go to Charlene in Carmel, Maine, listening on Sirius XM. Charlene, are you there?
I'm here.
Charlene, how can we help you today? We can hear you, yes.
Okay. My husband of 36 years has had 4 affairs on me. And the last time was with my coworker that I was friendly with and helped quite a bit through our divorce. I've been in denial terribly. I'm a full New Life Ministry support person. I just can't thank you guys all enough for just educating me, so I made the step to leave. And it's now getting down to the where I got legal counsel, and it's now getting to the financial stuff and splitting up. There's no hope. He just has gone to, he is a sex addict. We just had a huge lawsuit against us for sexual harassment.
Wow.
And this last one was my friend. And I didn't see it coming, and it's because I'm trying so hard to keep. I've only been with him since I was 17.
Yeah.
And I've lost all trust. I don't want to be with anybody. I just want some peace at the end of my life. We're in our early 60s, and we're very healthy and active, but I have no trust anymore, and I feel dirty, and I feel scared, and I have no peace, and I don't sleep.
Yeah.
And I've been alone for 5 months, and I realized and he wants to try to reconcile. I called today, and I felt myself crack, and I know I shouldn't, but I'm asking you to just tell me if I'm going on the right path.
Is there anything that we can specifically help you? Any question that you have, especially you have Dr. Sheri Keffer in studio here today, any specific thing that you would want to ask her?
I guess the question most important is there ever any time that you'll ever feel like you're a decent woman again? Or that you can trust somebody?
Yeah.
I love your heart. Yeah, I love your heart, Charlene. You know what's interesting? The ancient Hebrew word for lust is ava. And what that means is the strong nail that binds you to itself. But you know, in contrast, what the ancient Hebrew word for hope is? It's what comes after the nail. And so I want to tell you, beyond a shadow of a doubt, Charlene, yes, there is hope for you. There's a whole life out there. There's a whole life out there for you and me, for those of us that experience betrayal trauma. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what you need to heal and what hope looks like and what to do with him knocking on your door right now in the 11th hour, all right?
All right, so Charlene, we're going to come right back after this break.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. Chris Williams in studio for Steve Arterburn today. We're talking with Charlene, and Sheri, you're really speaking to her heart and her need and her core need for hopefulness here.
Yeah. So first off, let's just touch on him wanting to reconcile. And so it's not uncommon for, as the final door is closing in divorce, for that person that's betrayed you, that has been unwilling to change what he's doing, to run towards you and say, I don't want this to happen. In fact, that happened with me. So Connor, who is, throughout my book, Intimate Deception, Healing the Wounds of Sexual Betrayal, my story's in there. But even when I was standing in the parking lot of where a divorce attorney was, Connor said to me, I don't want this. I don't want you to leave. And at that point, I was strong enough to look at him and say, Connor, I haven't wanted it either, but you've rendered me helpless. I'm not willing to allow a revolving door to continue in our marriage. And you're acting out, and the lack of you changing and getting help and doing what you've needed to do has brought us to this point. And so I'm going to continue moving forward with divorce. And I really hope and pray that you get what you need to heal, because I can't do it anymore. So that's what I had to say, because he didn't want to lose me, but he didn't want to be integrous either. And I couldn't live split in both of those worlds anymore. And this was after years of trying to help us as a couple heal. So the other thing I want to mention to you really quickly is, it's weird how the brain works, but the brain is the most selfish organ of the body, and it is committed to keep you safe. And so what it does is it wires in shame beliefs in order to keep you safe. And here's what some of mine were, and I hear them in you. One of them is, I can't trust anyone. I can't trust my judgment. I call that the deadly duo, right? I had those two. I also had the belief that I'm shameful, because somehow his bad behavior got stuck on me through that negative belief. And I had to realize through my own healing that it's not about me. It's about what happened to me. The shame was his to carry, not mine. Mm-hmm. I'm not the one who betrayed. And so as you continue in your healing, girl, I just ask you to do the work so that you can get your truth back on and that you can get free, because you can actually, in the days, months, years down the road, become free enough and whole enough to love again. It's possible. I did it. But it took me quite a bit of time, and that's why I wrote my book, because I wanted to give you a fast track and how to get there, because I bumbled around for a very long time.
Well, and your story is really important because it gives hope. It says that this can be done.
Yep.
Yeah. Alice, what do you think?
Charlene, you are in the very risky and often painful process of individuating from your husband. You're finding out who you are apart from him, and that's so scary. And a lot of us pick the pain we know and we stay with that pain rather than risking that there may be hope for something better than this. So you're on the right path by these risks that you're taking. And of course it's scary. And of course you don't know who you can trust when you can't trust your husband of 36 years. So one of the best things to do, and Sheri talks about this in her book as well, is getting other healthy women around you, and especially women who can understand your pain. And we have a great weekend for that, Restore. It is walking with other women along this path to find out that you're not alone and to be able to access the hope that they have, just like you're doing right now with Sheri, to keep you strong when the days are dark and the road is tough.
Thank you.
Charlene, we have a lot of hope for you. God cares for you. You are invaluable. Your heart matters. Whether your husband has treated that well or not, we're going to send you a copy of Intimate Deception. And as Alice mentioned, and that is Sheri's book, Healing the Wounds of Sexual Betrayal. And also, as Alice has mentioned, the Restored Conference is coming up on your side of the country in Washington, D.C. on November 15th. And again, that is going to be a great time to gather with other women, to link arms and link hearts, to know you're not alone, and to continue this path on the right direction, and so that you can get the recovery and the restoration that you need, and being able to let your husband go and then rediscover this next, as you said, you said peace a lot. There is peace in your future, and more peace than you ever imagined as you get out of this chaotic marriage. So thank you so much for calling in, Charlene. And we wish you very well, but we also have a lot of faith for you in what Christ is going to continue to do in and through your heart. So thank you for calling in. Let's go to Robert in Norfolk, Virginia. Norfolk, Virginia. I'll get that out here. He's listening on Wave. So Robert, how are you doing today?
I am doing fine. How are you guys doing today?
Doing well. How can we help you out?
Well, I've just recently gotten out of a 11-month relationship with a woman that told me that she loved me, told me she wanted to marry me, and then I found out that the entire time that we were dating, that she was basically playing me or using me, I guess.
So what do you mean by use? How is she using you or playing you?
Well, she basically she was living with somebody else that she said she was with a friend with when her and I first started going out, and then we were able to get her out of that situation, got her into her own apartment and everything. She wanted to move in with me. She told me she would love me. She told me she wanted to marry me after like about 4 or 5 months. And I'm like, all right, well, I still want to take it slow. I want to do this right. I've been divorced twice, so I wanted to have a good foundation, a good solid foundation with God and with our relationship. So I really wanted to take things slow. She told me she wanted to take things slow. And then probably about 6 months into the relationship, she started having what she considered not trust issues, but insecurities with my extended family. People that I've known their entire lives, that they now have kids, and I've known their entire lives.
Yeah.
And she would use those against me, telling me that I was trying to form a relationship with somebody that I no longer have any contact with. And it was difficult. Once her and I had broken it off, within a month and a half, she had found somebody else, was getting ready to move in with him.
Yeah. So
at the same time, she was still going out with me.
Yeah. Let me jump in. Let me jump in. You found a boy collector, and what I mean by this is a person who likes to collect boys who love to rescue.
That's me.
Okay. So you were just unfortunately, and this is painful.
I'm an enabler.
Yeah. So you just happened to be, and this is a harsh way to put it, and I know it's more heartbreaking than this, but really you were a part of her collection along the way, and then when you ceased to be useful for her, she put it back on you and moved on. And so that's a concise way to put it. But Robert, how can we help you today? Is there a question for us?
My problem is, I was actually able to contact through Facebook him, and I told him everything that had been going on, and just to give him a heads up, because of I don't want to give too much information, but there's certain reasons why I needed to contact this.
But how can we help you?
But I was trying to get closure from my standpoint.
Okay.
My problem is now that even though I've given that information out, I still feel angry, and
yes,
every time, the more I think about everything that had happened, it just makes me more angry and more frustrated that, okay, she hurt me really, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get back at her, but at the same time, I know God's working in my life because I've gotten back into the Word.
So I'm
studying more.
I know. So Robert, Robert, let me jump in.
So I'm trying to figure out how do I get through this anger.
Great question. Alice, what do you think?
Robert, I bet you have an accumulation of hurts and anger from all these women in your life and possibly even in your family of origin. And when it accumulates, the most recent wound and the relationship in which we receive the most recent wound can be the target for the anger and the hurt from everything we've experienced, even before this person. So you're already doing the right thing because you're confessing the anger that you have. And it's really tough when our anger and resentment is justified and yours is. So it's harder to let it go. And of course you want revenge, you want justice. You maybe want her to feel the hurt that you have felt and even want to protect the next guy from her. So we want to, yes, of course. It all makes sense. And Robert, for your own safety, the safety of your heart and soul and your future, the best steps that you can take are continuing to tell your story, confessing your anger, and mourning all that you have lost, not just her, these other marriages that you've lost as well. There's a lot of grief. Usually grief is under anger. And when we can get with safe enough people and tell our story and access our grief, the anger often dissolves. But there's a spiritual component to it as well. And that is, God calls us to not only forgive our enemies, but to pray for them. And as I've worked with folks who have suffered infidelity and betrayal, they've been the victim of it like you. One of the things that really helped them move forward, in addition to grieving and telling their story, was to start being honest with God about whether or not they could even pray for their enemy. And so with you, it may be, God, that last thing I want to do is to pray for my enemy here and pray for blessings over her. And that's where I am today. Because, Robert, he can work with that. And as you pray that, you will receive the infusion of grace that will soften your heart over time and let you separate from her and from this wound.
So, Robert, who did you rescue?
That's kind of where I thought.
Who did you rescue growing up? What did you feel the need to rescue your mom? Were you burdened by what was going on with your dad?
Actually, it was both of my wives, both of my ex-wives.
Okay, so you're
that was the thing. So I know where it's coming from.
Right,
it's
but
just,
before then,
then,
because somewhere back in your history is a young man that doesn't feel like he is enough on his own. In fact,
Oh, well, I know where that's at.
Okay, so can you?
I actually have an idea of where that's at. That's from my father.
Okay, give us a little hint.
I didn't. I want to say this. There were a lot of things within growing up that my dad was hard-ish. Everything was, we need to get this done, we need to get this done. And I felt that I wasn't receiving the love that I thought that I should from him.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel about it.
Totally get that. So you were never enough for him. Never enough. And so you're attracted to...
One of his jokes to me was he wanted a boy, a girl, and an it, and he got the girl and the it.
That's horrible.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Robert, for a moment here.
And he would tell me now that it was...
Hold on, Robert, we got to help you here, man. I want you to feel that in your body for a moment. The it. The way you...
Oh, I know.
The way... listen, the way you carry value in the world is to be helpful or useful to somebody else, and that's the only value you have. And so you're attracted to victims. You're attracted to the helplessness. We're coming up against a break, so we're going to come back after this for just a moment. But I want you to look at that, because what we're going to try to do is help you find your own value so you can find equals, not lesser thans. We'll come back right after this.
I came into this thinking that my husband was the cause of many of our issues.
The New Life Intimacy and Marriage Workshop is coming to Columbus, Ohio, October 25th to the 27th.
But after learning about our attachment styles, I understood how our past hurts were playing into our present problems.
Join Steve Arterburn.
It's been a dream of mine for a long time to help people to grow more intimately together, and we believe that everybody has room to grow in the intimacy level of their life.
And Milan and Kay Yurkovich.
We help couples understand how their attachment style is sabotaging their current relationship, and then we teach them how to create comfort in a relationship.
To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or go to newlife.com.
Here at this workshop, we had our first ever conversation without yelling, blaming, and accusing.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
My wife asked me for the first time in 2011 if I would consider myself a sex addict, so I signed up. You know, I'd read the Every Man's Battle book, and it was a great book, but the workshop, it was the experience that really was key for me. If they go to EMB, they're going to be in good hands. You know, this is a safe place. They're going to be surrounded by men that simply walk the talk. The weekend leaders that they will go through this workshop with, they'll help them to get to the root of their issues. You know, I've been through a number of well-preached sermons, listened to and read countless books, been to a number of seminars, but EMB for me it was a game changer. It truly saved my life. Being in this community, being in this workshop, being around these men will change them if they'll let them. You're going to encounter men that will meet you where you're at, and you will instantly walk into a safe place where they're welcome.
If you're struggling, call us. We don't want you to go on struggling. Just give us a call. It's 1-800-639-5433. It's 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
And we're back. Chris Williams in studio for Steve Arterburn. We're talking with Robert. And Robert, we were just talking at break how painful the comment that your dad made to you about he wanted a girl and a boy and an it, and he got a girl and an it. And I just want to be able to say to you that you are not an it. You are a man. You are a human being. And as I was saying before, when we feel that what Sheri was talking about, not enough, then we're constantly hustling to do more, to get enough. And it actually never works. It's a dangerous trap. We want you to be able to get into a process where you're able to discover your value, who you are as a human being. And as I said before, so you don't keep choosing women who need to be rescued, but you can choose women who can be a partner in your life, an equal to, not a lesser than. And so I want you to stay on the line. We're going to connect you with one of our network counselors. We're also going to send you the book, How We Love. It really does a great job of explaining or really showing us how these woundings in our life affect the way we connect to other people, and it shows us how to get to healthy, or what we call safe, secure attachment. So Robert, thank you so much for calling in and sharing. And we want you to know that working through that, as Alice said, working through that anger and getting to that grief is really important. And we want to be able to get you to the right person to support you in that. Next, I want to go to Iris in Durant, Oklahoma. Iris, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Iris, how can we help you today?
I am curious to find out your thoughts and opinions biblically on what a man's role is in providing for his family. I've been married 26 years. My husband says his only job as a provider in the family is spiritually, to lead us. And so I work full-time. I get my children up for school, take them to school, bring them back home, take them to doctors, take them to dentists, do the grocery shop and pay the bills. Like, I do everything while he sits at home. And I want to know if that's accurate or not, because the Bible says that a man who doesn't provide for his own family is worse than an unbeliever. So what's your thoughts on that?
Well, let me throw it back at you. Iris, what's your thoughts on that?
I think that gender roles has definitely changed throughout the years, and that it should be like a 50-50 thing or a 60-40 thing. I do believe that if we're in a partnership that I should...
Iris, let me go back into this. You're looking for an external standard, a standard outside of yourself. Inside of you, how is this marriage working for you?
Not well.
That's what I want to hear.
Iris, is your husband struggling with addiction, whether it's addiction to pornography, to a substance, to TV, social media?
Alcohol.
Alcohol?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he guilts me into staying in the marriage by saying, divorce is worse than abortion biblically, and, that's my only role is to lead this family spiritually.
Have you ever heard of the term spiritual abuse?
No.
Spiritual abuse is when we take behavior that is clearly wrong or harmful, and then we somehow use a Bible verse or some spiritual principle to justify that which is wrong. It's a way to control, and it's actually really abusive.
Right. I feel abused.
Yes.
And Iris, I bet there's more going on even than you've told us. Whether it's more verbal abuse, maybe there's been something physical aggression, and perhaps something the children have been exposed to too. Is that the case?
Definitely mental and verbal, and yes, the children have been there, threats, but nothing physical.
Oh, and Iris, you must feel so held captive by the spiritual standard that he is holding over your head, that you have to stay and do everything for the family that he's not doing.
Right.
So what's kept you there?
That you guys don't, you do believe that a man is to provide for his family.
How old are your kiddos, just generally? How old?
12 and
I'm sorry?
12 and 8.
12 and 8.
Okay, so what's kept you there with him for 2.5 decades?
Iris, we need you to speak up just a little bit. It's a little hard to hear you. Go ahead.
He says that it will ruin my children's life if we separate. He threatens my life if I leave, which I'm not sure he would really do.
Say that one more time. He does what to you if he threatens your life if you leave?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure he would really do that or not, but it's something he says.
So I'm really worried about you, girl, and let me tell you why. Because you have an abuser on your hand. But the thing that scares me most is you're in a pocket of something called learned helplessness. He's got you in a snare, at least in your mind. And somehow you're believing his lies. And he's hurting you. He's hurting your family, and he's in entitlement. He's behaving like a false king, and he's using God and his word to hold that over you. It's scary. And we want to talk to you about what you can do to get out of that snare. We'll be right back.
My wife had found me out through my past and my sexual addiction since I was a small child. It really gave me the opportunity to start digging into my past, start digging into my childhood, figure out what was causing me to feel the way I was feeling. Every Man's Battle will really give you that opportunity because all the guys there in that room are there for the exact same reason you're there. I don't want to be the reason that my kids are going to counseling. I don't want to be the reason that they begin to struggle with the same issues that I'm struggling with, and I've got to put an end to this. Yes, you can be different. God does love you. You can be forgiven for this, and there's a way out of this. But you have to acknowledge that you have to change, and that there's a problem.
If you're struggling, call us. There are people on the other end of the line who want to hear from you, who want to help you. We don't want you to hand down something to another generation that just looks like pain and destruction. You can hand down redemption. But you got to take that first step. Just give us a call. It's 1-800-639-5433. It's 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again. You seem to be able to get to the crux of a problem quickly.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for you and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly, and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Just call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-639-5433.
We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. Chris Williams in studio for Steve Arterburn here today. And we have Iris on the line. And Sheri, you are talking with Iris in this incredibly difficult situation that she's in.
So, Iris, I feel for you because I think it's really easy to be under the rule of a controller, an abuser, and especially an alcoholic on top of that, right? So places like Al-Anon are going to be life-saving for you. A women and family shelter is going to be a place for you to consider. Because you don't really know what he's going to do with his threats. But you need to be able to find some safe places of people like us that are going to validate you and say, hey, girl, it's not you. It's the crazy that's happened around you. And I'm so glad that Chris just shed light on the spiritual abuse of it. But he's not changing. And so we've got an interventionist here at New Life who helps people who are in snares, especially in light of the alcohol, because your husband definitely needs treatment. And I have a sense that he's not going to move easily. In fact, it might not even be until you and the kids leave that he's going to actually fall off his throne and realize that it's not working anymore to kind of hold his spiritualizing over you. And he's going to have to face his addiction to alcohol.
Iris, I want to add that it scares me to hear you question his threats and, will he ever follow through? I would do the same thing in your position, hoping it was just an empty threat. But alcohol, lowers inhibitions, and it just, it takes judgment right out of the picture. And so for the safety of you and your children, making bold moves now is the best for you and your children, and even actually for your husband. He needs to be shaken up by your decision of what you're not willing to tolerate and not willing to expose yourself and your children to, and even if necessary, a restraining order, legal consultation might be considered, because I think that he is dangerous.
Iris, do you hear that? Because this is critically important. You need to take threats seriously, and you need legal protection. And
okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. And one other thing, just to reiterate what we're saying here. Learn as much as you can about alcoholism, but also get support. So again, please stay on the line, because we're going to connect you with resources, an interventionist, with treatment centers that we're connected to, and so that we can help you and your 2 children get the help that they need. This is really, really important. We're also going to send you, out of the Arterburn Wellness series, Loving a Person with Substance Abuse and Alcoholism.
And Iris, we're praying for you for God's divine strength, because you must be exhausted, and the idea of adding any more and taking more steps must seem impossible right now. But God will give you the strength, and with Him, nothing is impossible.
Absolutely. So Iris, thank you so much for calling in. Your action and your strength here is really important, obviously, to you, but it also is for your 2 kids. So,
hey, Iris, I want to make one more suggestion. I want you to get a copy of Leslie Vernick's book, The Emotionally Destructive Marriage.
Oh, that's good.
Because she's just so in your wheelhouse, and I get that book and read that as well.
Yeah, thank you for that, Sheri. And I think there's a lot of other people out there that need to hear that resource as well. So.
Well, and I love that Leslie talks about the difference between a disappointing marriage and a destructive marriage. And all 3 of us are on board with this is a destructive marriage.
Without
and there's
a doubt.
some steps that need to be taken to make it better or walk away, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Iris, again, thank you so much for calling in. And now I want to go to Jim in Macon, Georgia, listening on Sirius XM. Jim, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing good today. So how can we help you?
Got a little family problem I need some help with here. 5 years ago, I'm from a big family, and we're very close. 5 years ago, our mother died. My sister was kind of her caretaker then of choice. She lived close, and she just did more for Mom than anybody. Our younger brother died 2 years later, and it was devastating to my sister. She was married. Her husband had run around on her lots of times over the years.
Jim, real quickly. So let me jump in. Are you on a headset or something like that? That it's coming in really muffled.
Is this any better?
Yeah, there we go. Thank you, man.
All our listeners just went.
Okay. So when my brother died, my brother-in-law had not been a very good husband to my sister. And she had, when my brother died, she just had enough of it, and she just turned on her husband. Wasn't a very good wife. She was almost a perfect wife until that point. And then after that, she kind of had enough of his being obnoxious and just rude, and so she kind of gave it back to him in a little while. Well, the last year and a half of his life, he died 2 years ago. Last year and a half of his life, he had given my sister a lot more attention. He'd become a better husband, and she just still didn't respond. Well, when he died, she blamed herself. She said that her being a mean wife to her husband the last year and a half killed him with stress, and she raised him to it. She put him on a pedestal. He's not the guy. She got on the pedestal is not the guy that he actually was. And she trusts absolutely no one. She trusts none of us, none of her family, not the pastor. She doesn't go to church anymore. They had a business. Her and her husband had a business. Her husband had the license in his name.
Hey, Jim. Jim, just to jump in here, because we're up against some time issues. So, is there a question for us? Is there something we can specifically help you with?
Yes, there is. My brother-in-law had to get the license to keep the business going, but she resents him terribly. She has no respect for the brother-in-law that kept the business going, and she's just so full of anger. What do we do? How do we deal with this? We've talked to her. She doesn't listen to any of her brothers that are all businessmen. She doesn't listen. She's just a bitter woman. She trusts no one. We don't know how to handle it. It's going to tear my family apart with my sister.
Yeah, so
and my brother-in-law.
So she's cut herself off in her anger and her hurt and her pain. And how can we help you? So, Alice, what do you think?
Jim, I think that in your best attempts to love her, you might actually be telling her that she's wrong about how she feels and what she thinks. And I think that's pushing her away. Although you may think she's completely wrong about how she feels and what she thinks, but telling a person they're wrong does not help heal the hurt that they feel. To be able to move out of where she's stuck, I believe she needs to be validated and heard without being convinced that she's wrong. Now, you may or may not be the person to do that. You certainly love her and you have position in her life. But if everybody's telling her that she's wrong and trying to change her mind, that shuts a person's heart down and their willingness and ability to talk through what they're experiencing to be able to move beyond it.
Now, not everyone's telling her that. I've told her, I've told her she's wrong, and that, but the other brothers and sisters, our brother and sister, have not just confronted her with this thing. So it's not like all of us are jumping on her.
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't know how to get through to her. We can see what she's doing. Everybody can see that. All the friends around have come to me and told me.
Well, Jim, has she done anything to get her own help?
No.
Okay.
She went to a little grief counseling, but not for long. She didn't need it. She said it didn't do her any good. She's angry at God.
Yeah. So
she has all the answers, and nobody else does.
Okay, so she's pretty cut off from you guys. Sheri, what do you think?
Well, she talks. She's sociable, but she doesn't listen.
Have you ever been around a feral cat?
Yes.
Okay. It's like your sister's hurting so bad right now that she's like a feral cat, and y'all are trying to domesticate her. She's hurting. And she feels tremendous guilt over how she treated her husband that's deceased now. The reason I know that is because she says, I feel like he died because I was a mean wife. I go, that's good. I'm kind of glad to hear her say something about herself to maybe consider what she was doing in the whole story. But she's having a hard time even going there because she's got a negative belief inside of her that says, I did something wrong. I'm shameful. I'm a bad person. I'm a terrible person. And so as a family, when we already feel that stuff and our family is all looking at us like we're a feral cat, we think God looks at us like we're a feral cat. And what do feral cats do? They run. They hide. They don't want to bring their hearts. Your sister needs someone that's going to sit down and just say, man, you've been through so much. Tell me about your hurt. That's what's going to domesticate her, is some time and care around her heart. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
You guys are awesome. You are a blessing to America.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, please call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
Last year after Every Man's Battle, I was so moved by the transformation that I saw, not only in myself, but in the guys in our small group and the other people that were there and the stories that I heard, that I decided to go ahead and join Club New Life as a contributor to that.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
You guys are doing God's work here. You're restoring marriages. You're giving people hope. It's just been such a blessing to me, and I just wanted to encourage you all. When you see something good that God's doing, just jump on that and help support that.
Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433.
Give your support to them if you can, and just help them do what God's doing here in the world.
Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. Chris Williams in studio for Steve Arterburn today. We're talking with Jim. And Jim, we were talking actually at the break and just really adding up the losses that you and your family and especially your sister has experienced. And it just sounds to me like her grief is just what I call twisted. It gets all confused. And as Sheri was talking about being a feral cat, and so how do I deal with a person like this? It can be very, very challenging, but it has to start with empathy. And you don't have to put up with bad behavior. You can set boundaries around bad behavior, harmful behavior, but say, hey, I want to hear what's going on inside of you. And two questions I think that could help your sister is, what are you afraid of and what do you need?
And really identifying that her grief all twisted up, she's stuck in anger, in the grief, denial, anger, bargaining, right? Sadness. Mm-hmm. She's not in sadness. She's stuck in anger. Yeah. And so maybe a family member can be willing to say, would you come with me, just the two of us, and so we can go and talk to a counselor about what's going on in our family and in your heart.
Yes.
And enter in, because the grief group didn't work because she didn't want to feel. She didn't want to cry. This woman needs to pop and cry 1,000 tears for all the loss she's had. So let's send them a book. What would be a good book for them?
Well, I want to start with Healing as a Choice.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to send you Healing as a Choice, but we also want you to stay on the line because we want to connect you with one of our New Life counselors. And again, if you're out there listening, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have a nationwide network of counselors that if in your need of therapy, something that we say here on the radio that really triggers something like, hey, I want to get in and see somebody, we can help you out with that. In addition to that, this ministry, we are able to help people and continue to help them in life's most challenging, hardest, and painful places because you financially partner with us. This is such a critical and an important part of the ministry that we do here. And today I want to mention Club New Life. If you join Club New Life, you get a set of 4 devotionals by Steve Arterburn. This includes 100 Days of Character, 100 Days of Peace, 100 Days of Prayer, and also the newly released 100 Days of Healing. I just want to talk briefly about the Club New Life videos as well. I just did a 5-part series on anxiety and overcoming anxiety in our daily lives. There are countless. Sheri, you've done phenomenal videos on there. Alice, you've done phenomenal videos on there. The best of what we have is at Club New Life and is so much more resources for you and the people with you. So consider today making a donation. And if you make a donation of any kind in October, you get 100 Days of Healing. But I just really encourage you to do that, to partner with us so we can help partnering with God to bring the healing of His will and His desire into the hearts and into the lives and into the minds of millions of people. So with that said, as you continue to partner with us, let's go to one more call today. Let's go to Teresa in Durango, Colorado, listening on the internet. Teresa, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. How can we help you today?
So my question is I have a suspicion that my husband is masturbating in the bed next to me while we're sleeping, and this has just been over the past couple of nights.
Okay. And have you have you talked to him about it?
I have not, and that's part of my question is how do I approach him about it?
That's a really good question.
So did you observe him? You don't have, please don't go into details, but did you observe him, or is this just kind of a thought you're having, or what made you notice that the last 2 nights?
I've woken up to it, and it's just been sounds mainly.
Okay. Got it.
And we're right next to each other, so it's, yeah.
Yeah. And so is he going to bed with his phone near him? Does he go to bed with his phone on next to his bed?
Yes.
Okay.
So a little bit of history there. He's a big phone person next to his bed, as am I, but he is on it because he has a hard time sleeping. And so when he wakes up in his sleep, he'll almost go immediately to his phone.
So have you ever thought that he might be using porn or masturbating to fall asleep?
I know of one incident of him viewing porn and masturbating to that in that instance. But I think that he is masturbating to fall asleep. I don't know if he's viewing the porn at the same time or if he's just masturbating to fall asleep.
Well, beyond splitting hairs, what's this doing to you?
I've reacted physiologically to it. Like I wake up and my heart is pounding.
Of course.
And my palms are sweaty.
Of course.
And it just leaves me in a awkward state of like, questioning maybe why he's doing that, and then
So
is it a lack of intimacy, taking away intimacy between us?
Absolutely. Yeah, and my quick answer to all of that is yes. And so having this critical conversation is critically important. We are limited on time here, but Sheri, how does she approach this conversation?
So I would definitely let him know what you noticed, and I would definitely let him know that it's causing your body to go into distress. You're having a trauma response to him looking at porn or masturbating, right? Your body is telling you it's not okay. And just start the conversation and ask him if he would be willing to tell you how often it is that he is masturbating, looking at porn, so you can get kind of an idea. And if he starts getting defensive or uncomfortable, then let him know that it's something you're going to reach out to get some help for, right? To get help from a counselor, to get help from us, right? We can have you stay on the line. And I'm going to send you a copy of my book, Intimate Deception, Healing the Wounds of Sexual Betrayal, because I consider porn use in bed, masturbating, intimate deception, right? It's happening without your awareness. You can't even sleep now soundly without that waking you up and making you have a trauma response.
Yes, there is sexual behavior happening in the marriage that's not okay with the marriage. It's a form of infidelity.
Teresa, it is fair to ask for, as a safeguard to your marriage, that all sexual energy be reserved for the marriage, unless you two agree otherwise. But that's okay and good to ask for, and it's understandable that you're afraid. Gather courage from us and this call, and you may need a female peer, a friend, to be in on this with you, to pray for you before and after the conversation, because it'd be scary to ask about and not know how he's going to respond.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes.
So Teresa, I just want you to know that this is an issue that doesn't go away. You're doing a great job because you can't ignore it. It only grows. It just gets bigger and bigger when it gets denied or covered over. And so this is a hard but courageous move that you're making. So moving into a critical conversation is to say, hey, we need to talk about this. And if he tries to deny or he tries to kind of move around and say, okay, fine, then start taking steps of removing phones from the bedroom. You don't need it. There's many other ways to get to sleep. And by the way, the studies are clear. Cell phones hurt our sleep. They don't help our sleep. So as we're coming to the end of our show here, Teresa, get the resources, read the book, also have them get Every Man's Battle. And if you're listening here today, we can help you, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Thanks for being with us today.
Listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.